Okay, so good morning to all of you who are tuning in from back in various places in Europe. Good afternoon to those of you who are tuning in from here in China, and good whatever to those of you who are tuning in from somewhere in between or somewhere else. So today, I'd like to first of all welcome you all to the session hosted by the EU SME Centre in collaboration with the Danish Chamber of Commerce here in China. Today's topic is quite a relevant one as we are getting closer and closer into Christmas. I was joking a little bit with today's speaker, Mr. Aaron Chang, about how Christmas is coming and we're all seeing all these advertisements, we're buying stuff. So today is a little bit of a behind the curtain and getting to get more information as to how all these advertisements we are seeing, how they are going to appear in front of our eyes. So it's the last event that we have before Christmas. I know many of you are, if you're not already on your Christmas holidays, maybe you're about to go on it soon. So regardless, welcome you and thank you for joining today's session. As I said, it's an Omni-Channel Marketing Automation in China, and it's hosted by the EU SME Centre together with the Danish Chamber of Commerce in China. Before we get into today's presentation, I would like to introduce just briefly some information about the Danish Chamber of Commerce in China, and more importantly, the EU SME Centre. So what is the EU SME Centre? What do we do? Well, the EU SME Centre is an EU-funded commission project that was started all the way back in 2010 with the purpose to help European small and medium-sized enterprises to get ready to do business in China, to understand China, and to better get ready for China. Right now in 2021, it is currently running in its third phase. And this project, this phase 3, as we call it, runs for 18 months, started from October last year and continuing to and including March of next year, 2022. So like I said, the EU SME Centre helps European SMEs to prepare to do business in China by providing a range of different forms of information, advice, trainings, such as is what we're having today, and also other supporting services. The EU SME Centre is an official member of the Enterprises Europe network. And so far, as to date, we have partnered with over 270 government agencies and business support organizations in both Europe and China. That number, of course, still growing all the time. In its third phase right now, we have an office here, boots on the ground in Beijing, in the Sanlitun district, but we are, of course, present very much online, both in Europe and in China as well. So the final thing here is that the EU SME Centre is a project that has 5 implementing partners, and those are the Italian China Chamber of Commerce, it's the China-Britain Business Council, it is the Danish Chamber of Commerce in China, it is Euro Chambers, and then it is finally the European Union Chamber of Commerce. So these 4 chambers of commerce and this 5th business council is what makes up the consortium of the third phase of the EU SME Centre. Now, I mentioned a little bit about these different services that the EU SME Centre is providing, and you can roughly divide them into 4 different categories. The first one, knowledge center. Second one, advice center. The third one, training center. And the fourth one, an access and advocacy platform for European SMEs. The first one, the knowledge center. Well, that means as of right now, today, we have around 200 market reports, guidelines, and case studies that are freely available to download free of charge on the EU SME Centre website, which you can find the link in the bottom of this page right here. So these reports cover various different aspects and sectors, and many of them are newly written, highly relevant. So we also encourage you to check those out by your convenience. That is the knowledge center. The second one, advice center. Well, there's a couple of things to this. One thing is that we would like to convey that we actually have a self-diagnosis tool that we have developed this year. That means if you are a European SME and you would like to enter the Chinese market, or perhaps you have already entered the Chinese market, well, you can go into this website that once again is the link in the bottom, and then you can assess how ready this tool would deem your organization to be based on a series of questions. So highly encourage that one as well. It is quite an interesting tool. Also for the Advice Center, I would also like to say that on our website, we also have a function called Ask the Expert. Ask the Expert, just like all the other EU SME functions, is free of charge. You just go into the website, you click the button, and you ask your question about whatever thing related to business in China, and we will do our best to reach out and find someone to answer your question as soon as possible. So also like to convey you guys to check that out by your convenience. Now, I mentioned also the training center. That is actually part of what we're doing right now with this session we're having online today. We are organizing a lot of different sessions on various aspects of business in China, and they are all free of charge. Some of them are online, some of them are offline in China, some of them are offline in Europe, and some of them are both online and offline at the same time. So keep an eye out on our sessions on our website. And of course, thank you for joining today's training. Now, the fourth and final thing is that the EU SME Centre also acts as an advocacy platform for European companies in China. That takes place through meetings with Chinese and EU authorities and relevant stakeholders here, and also by making a range of workshops. So that is different, the 4 different aspects of the EU SME Centre that we would like to have you guys better understand. Now, here, as I said, today is the last event before Christmas. We are, of course, continuing until and including March in this 3rd phase. So here are the two events that we have planned so far for January, and more things to come. You can check that out on our website or our social media pages as well. At the end of today's session, there is going to be a Q&A session as well. Many of you, it's probably not your first Zoom webinar ever, but I'd just like to let you guys know how it works. So in the bottom of this Zoom page, there is a button that's called Q&A, and we would like you to use this Q&A function to ask a question to today's speaker, and then we will be sure to, once the session is over, to take your question and ask it directly to today's speaker. So we highly encourage you to do just that. Now, the final thing that I would like to say before we get into today's session and before I introduce Mr. Aaron Chang to you is that today's session is also brought in collaboration with the Danish Chamber of Commerce in China. The Danish Chamber of Commerce in China is a non-profit organization that's established with roots all the way back to the 90s and even further, but it was formally established and registered with the Chinese Ministries of Civil Affairs in the year of 2000, so almost 22 years ago. So far, we have 3 offices around China, North, East, and South China, and our membership covers just around 200 members, spanning from all kinds of different sectors. And the Danish Chamber of Commerce in this aspect is interesting because we have been an implementing partner with the EU SME Centre since October of last year, and will continue to be so until March of 2022 at least. It's the main platform for the Danish business community in China, and in fact, it is the biggest Danish Chamber of Commerce anywhere in the world outside of Denmark. And when I'm not doing EU SME Centre things, I'm of course working with the Danish Chamber of Commerce in China. So with all of that out of the way, once again, thank you guys for tuning into today's session, where we are fortunate to have Mr. Aaron Chang. Aaron, he is the founder and the CEO, the Chief Experience Officer at Jing Digital. Aaron, he has great expertise in online marketing in China with many years of experience in the Chinese market. And also we have partnered up with Jing Digital and Aaron frequently in the past as well. So he is very experienced with doing these events with EU SME Centre, with the Chambers of Commerce or other business organizations in China as well. So if you want to learn more about Jing Digital after today's session as well, there is a website link here, and you can also contact Aaron on the email address that is here below. So I think with all of that out of the way, Aaron, let me stop sharing here, and then you, yeah, the floor is yours.
Okay, thanks a lot, Nikolai. See if I can pass the first test and share my screen successfully. We there?
So far, so good. Not yet full. There we go, full screen.
Full screen.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining today. So close to Christmas, and As Nikolai started at the beginning, we were just joking that we're now being assaulted with targeted ads right now. And although that's not exactly what we're talking about today, in a lot of ways, it's all very similar, because we're talking today about marketing automation, particularly for B2B, and how enterprises can help increase conversion and get better engagement with our users, with our customers, particularly in China, because China is very different. So today I'm going to share with you a little bit very quickly about our background of Jing Digital. And then we'll be talking about some trends that we're seeing in the market, particularly in digital trends, but also in marketing automation and social marketing. And then specifically with some of the strategies we're seeing companies who are implementing these, how companies are implementing these strategies. And finally, a couple of case studies that we'll sprinkle in the middle of there. And the background is, so I founded Jing Digital in 2014, basically because of the black box problem that brands were facing with WeChat. Official accounts were becoming increasingly important to their social marketing, but they didn't know what was happening in them. But WeChat is a very open, or for China, a very open platform. And so it allowed us to actually get data. And so on a programmatic API level, on a system-to-system level, we could really help brands understand what their marketing dollars were spent on WeChat were driving. And so that started with our social CRM platform, our Jing Social platform. In 2018, we launched a platform called Jing Lead, which is our business platform for business B2B marketing automation. And since then, we've launched also a sales tool for the sales team on WeCom or WeChat Work. And then finally, a enterprise level enterprise management and data platform called IDXP in 2020. So that's the development of our company. The key numbers for us, we are 90% renewal rate. That's very important for us as a software company, for SaaS software as a service. We work with about 300 brands. We're about 200 people now, and we're basically banked mostly in Shanghai with offices in Beijing and Guangzhou. So the range of, I'm not sure what you can see, the range of industries we work with, it's really our key industries now are around high tech, manufacturing, third-party service, healthcare, and education. Basically all of the markets where you have long sales cycles or complicated sales cycles, or you're selling to companies. So these are the types of companies that we have focused on over the years. Actually, earlier on, we focused on 2C much more, and we still work with a large number of 2C companies, but today we're going to talk about B2B strategies a little bit more. Now, just, I guess, very quickly, my background, obviously you'll probably tell from my voice, I'm from America. I grew up there, but then studied Chinese, got into advertising in New York, marketing, and then came to China in 2006 to open up a web development business. And then 2014 started Jing Digital. So let's go with some of the key trends. For now, for marketing automation, it's actually a very, very long global trend that's been going on in marketing for a long time, starting with direct mail even before 1990, and then getting more as people started to get phone numbers and cell phone numbers. We started to have some SMS marketing, and emails came into play. Then we could start having platforms that help support marketers target people through their email address. And then later on, as we get cookies and device IDs, then ad tech grew up around how do we target people. Facebook in particular is really good at that. And that gets into social person IDs. The key here is that there's more and more channels with more and more different types of identifiers of how can we actually identify a unique individual and then give him something relevant. And why that's important is that if you're going to increase conversion, if you're going to make your message more powerful or find the right people, it's always about a number of key things. It's always about providing the right engagement, whether that's a person or a piece of content at the right time, through the right channel. So it's the right engagement, right person, right time, through the right channel. And we put a little in parentheses here, real time there, because increasingly in social, real time is very important, which was not traditionally that important when you're sending a piece of mail and it's not going to be there for 4 days. But when you're swiping something on your phone, if you have to wait 10 seconds, you've already swiped away and you're somewhere else. So certain types of engagements, real time is critically important, which is a big difference in the development of marketing automation. The difference between the US and China is very increasingly divergent, as we all know. And actually, if you see the number of platforms that have developed in the last number of years, the massive innovation in particularly social and engagement channels is actually coming from China, being led by WeChat, Xiaohongshu, TikTok, Douyin, WeCom. These are actually leading the way in the ability for brands to connect with consumers. So we're in a good place if you want to be on the cutting edge of automation and marketing automation. But that's also a double-edged sword because we have more channels to deal with. So we have very limited resources. So we have to be careful and we have to pick which channels are going to be the right channels to engage at any one time. I'll save you a little time. Right now, what we're seeing in the market is that primary B2B marketers are focusing still primarily on official accounts through WeChat. WeCom is, as I'll mention a bit, is coming up, but then it's advertising through Toutiao and TikTok are starting to come up. The other challenging thing for us marketers in China is that there really is a big split and there is a much more heavy reliance on mobile versus overseas, where it's actually still very much PC email centered. Whereas now in China, it's much, much more mobile centered. And although in the 2C marketing automation space, it really is true that email is just about useless. In the 2B marketing space, that's not true at all. Email is still a very viable channel because, as we all know, most of us still work at a desk and have to use email for various purposes, even in Chinese companies. So it's not as valuable, but it still is a channel that's important to continue to leverage. So let's get into some trends The first one is, again, as I mentioned, all the cutting edge changes in different channels. And the types of channels that are becoming much, much important for engaging with your customers is short video and video channels. TikTok, WeChat channels are getting more growth, whether it's doing webinars like we're doing right here today. These are all video is becoming the predominant or preferred format of content consumption. I think you can see this, and this is something, I put this map together of the average person's day, how they use social apps in China when I did the first talk with AmCham in 2014. And so at that time, really the social channels were focused around Weibo and WeChat and maybe some shopping in 2014 to say 2017. But increasingly, it's gotten much more rich as the video channels became, and social purpose video channels became more powerful, and adoption become greater and greater. And so that we have to always watch what our consumers are doing, and actually watch the 2C space, because that will that will be adopted as well in the 2B space in time. So this really is the short video era. So we haven't actually seen many companies that have gone full bore into this. More webinars right now for 2B than actually short videos, but we think this is really important to get ready for it. Particularly because recently Alan Zhang, the founder of WeChat, did a talk, and this is his diagram of the WeChat ecosystem, how he thinks about it. And you'll notice something very important, that the connection between search to the official account, to mini programs, to payments, what he puts in the middle of it is channels. So is the video discovery platform. And the way he described it is that in the future will become your company's business card and the core of the connection. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One is that type of content is more engaging. The other is, unlike an official account, it's not opt-in. It's actually discoverable. And actually, they're going to help you be discovered if you have good content, because it's also algorithmically based. And so their model is that 30% of the content you see will probably come from your friends' network. about 70% from recommendations. And that's what people seem to, it seems to be leveling out at. But that means that the people who are interested in certain topics and business topics will increasingly be looking for short videos. Now, the second trend we have here is about the B2B focus of the WeChat ecosystem. About 2 years ago, actually the whole Tencent group split into two major divisions, reorganized around the concept of starting to focus on the second half of the internet, or the business side of it. They're very strong on 2C. They're still not so strong on 2B side, but they're growing fast. And WeChat Work is the key to that because it seamlessly connects with WeChat. In the US, there's actually really no equivalent, because Slack, what we work for short message-based communication in the West, doesn't connect seamlessly with WhatsApp or Messenger or LinkedIn or connect with companies. But in China, particularly in the WeChat ecosystem, those are increasingly seamlessly connected together. So if you want an official chat address, you need to be thinking about your WeCom strategy. And this is something, so we've been talking about this for about 2 years now. And finally, in 2C, it's pretty much mass adoption. 2B, it's a big wave, as we're seeing sort of the bigger multinationals implementing right now a number of POCs, and then smaller companies using it internally, but they're getting ready to roll it out externally. So we've seen a big push, and this will be major trend of getting your sales team away from using personal WeChat into using WeCom. And one of the main reasons to do this is that, as Alan Zhang says, people are the service. And so that is actually the best way and the highest level of engagement that you're going to get from any kind of one-to-one connection. And so when we look at this with reach up and down, engagement left from higher engagement to the right, higher reach up, we have probably quite a bit of reach with email, but the engagement level is not so high. But the engagement level is super high when we use a personal chat, particularly through personal WeChat, or if we're connected through WeCom, that's going to be super high. We've done a number of tests, and it's anywhere from 60 to 300, 400% higher when you send a personal message through a person versus sending it through the official account. So you're going to get much better results. Trend number 3 is not really a surprise. We're all in the process of digitalizing in one form or another, but we do see it accelerating, and we do see an increasing emphasis on the unifying and connecting of data altogether. Because up until now, it's been pretty siloed development. Let's get our different tools, let's have our website, let's get our marketing team the tools they need to do webinars, to manage events, or the service team, let's get them a customer service platform that they can connect and talk to people who have sales inquiries or service inquiries, and also traditional CRM, et cetera. But these haven't really historically been very connected. But recently we've seen emerging, particularly in larger enterprises, digital teams and chief digital officers, digital transformation officers, and their job is to help the teams transform and to unify that data together. And so kind of a best practice omni-channel complete full stack technical platform is going to look something like this, where we have got our channels on the left-hand side. Our marketing team is running a number of an marketing automation platform, an SCRM platform like ours, for instance, Jinglead. Then we have on the right-hand side here, we have the sales team, which is focusing on CRM, and they probably have sales mobility tool. After sales, customer service has a customer portal. They have customer communities. And in the middle here is the digital team. They're starting to build out their data warehouses, their AI capabilities. And in the 2C world, it's called CDP, which is Consumer Data Platform. But basically connecting all of the clicks that are happening across all of your digital channels and properties, and unifying that to get a complete view of your accounts and your customers. So that's where people want to head. But how do you get there? So I guess one of the key things is, well, why do we want to get there? And it's because we want to increase conversion. In the B2C world, funnels typically look like this: AIPL, awareness, interest, purchase, loyalty. We think that's a little too simplistic for 2B because our sales cycles tend to be longer and we're crossing a few more teams. So marketing tends to have a leads funnel, sales tends to have an opportunities or deal funnel, and then there's an after sales funnel for upsells and renewals. And so our vision around this continues to be, and our suggestion is always, think about it holistically, start one step at a time, as I'm going to talk about, but the real value is not in one thing, it's in optimizing key touch points all along the funnel, because every point of lift can have an inordinate impact upon the final results. If you are able to engage better at the lead stage and better at the maybe proposal stage or negotiating phase, or as they're a new customer phase, all of these can help lift your final total revenue. And the way to do that, of course, is to provide the right engagement to the right person at the right time through the right channel. So how do we do that on a more scaled basis? When people can't track that, that's where automation platforms come in, because what we're building is a very rich life cycle where we're getting many, many touch points across the whole life cycle. But we need a platform to help us manage that. And we need processes and people and resources in order to put in place these systems, because this is not something that will reduce actually your other platforms' work, unfortunately. It's going to, every investment that's going to generate a return has a cost. And so the cost is tools, and the cost is putting in place operational teams and the knowledge and strategy in order to be able to deliver a digital experience and grow your digital experience maturity. And we really talk about that called the path to digital experience maturity, going from 1.0, which is typically what we've seen in B2B, is first empowering your marketing team with SCRM platform or other digital tools, and then to start connecting the marketing team's data. And then as you get into 2.0, you start omni-channel connection, usually typically first with the CRM, as we start integrating various platforms and various teams channel. Then at 3.0, we've got them connected and we start really optimizing multiple touch points across the full funnel. So that's the overall picture of it, and it's going to drive different metrics. And if you notice, the metrics here are going from new leads to cost of acquisition to actually true lifetime value lift. The metrics that you're trying to drive get much more valuable as you get more mature. And so your platform will look something along the lines of this. So we're going to go through each of these steps briefly and share a couple of case studies along the way about what does it actually look like. So in the 1.0 phase, we start, instead of having just, we start adding a couple more touch points in, because when we're doing a lead generation campaigns on a digital platform, we can track different accounts. So with our SCRM platform, and the reason SCRM platforms have become so popular is because they're all in one. You can run your webinars through it, you can run your events, you can publish your content, and all of that data is by default pulled together and unified together. At least that's what it should be doing. So when you're looking at your platforms, that's one of the key things, is really testing and making sure that the data truly is being seamlessly integrated together, because that's why you're using a all-in-one tool like this. And you're using it for lead acquisition at the beginning. So event marketing, offline events, online events, doing webinars, all of these, it should help you track and provide better engagements and a better experience for your users along as they're participating in your events. The second key thing that you're doing in 1.0 is that you're starting to track content marketing. We're starting to get some behavioral data on what our users are interested in, and starting to get some intent about not just what do they tell a salesperson, but what are they looking at and who should we be paying attention to. Then at this first page, we're starting to improve our lead management from using Excel to actually being able to do it more quickly and being able to automate pieces of it. And then some customers who have telesales also start at this point integrating some tools to basically make it faster and easier for the telesales to be integrated into the complete sales life cycle. The ABM is account-based marketing is also an important thing to consider as you're moving forward and evaluating tools, because a lot of traditional SCRMs don't really have an account or company object, and they're not designed to really do the things that you need in order to, if you're using an account-based strategy, or if you're focusing on big customers and trying to get more value or engage deeper with a limited set of customers versus having a large funnel of leads and trying to just get more leads and convert and increase a higher conversion. This is another checkpoint to think about of how the platform can help you with this. Now, once we've run all these different campaigns, we got these leads in together, then we're starting to segment. We're starting to develop our capability to provide different messages for different product interests or different stages of their buying journey. And so that comes around, like, some of the beginning phases are just a very simple welcome journey. Let's ask people automatically through WeChat official account, through a chatbot, what are you interested in? And people are typically very willing to answer quickly. And so engaging at the beginning of their opt-in is the golden time to engage with people, because they'll answer questions, and that'll help us starting to segment and understand who we're working with. And so that's this slide. So based on what they scan or how they come in, we're going to provide slightly different welcome messages. We're going to ask them different questions and help us to get a better engagement. So that's around the marketing team. As we start to integrate and connect up things in digital 2.0, then we start to try to lift all the way into the sales funnel. So how many sales qualified leads are we getting? Because we're starting to connect up the CRM. So what's the quality of the leads are actually that we're bringing? And we might trying to analyze what is the actual cost of acquisition? How much did it cost to bring in any one particular lead? Now, the first, so we have more, then we're starting to get more touch points involved on our life cycle, and we're starting to do more things, and we're starting to track a few more engagements along this way. Now, one of the key things is CRM binding is that it's a painful process, but integrating with the CRM and then identifying and making sure we have good identifier in China, it's fairly easy, actually. It's cell phone. And just making sure in your strategies, you decide which strategies are appropriate, and then get that cell phone and then bind it with that CRM record or create the CRM record, because then that will help us tie together the whole life cycle. So at this stage, our platform is starting to take the form of that diagram I showed you earlier, where we have channels coming into our SCRM or our private domain pool, private data. And then we're starting to map IDs, we're starting to connect to the CRM, and we're starting to tag and starting to do some segmentation. And at this stage, a lot of companies are starting to also go farther than just looking at just leads. We're also looking at accounts and how effective our engagement is across accounts. And so the lead funnel, if you're a lead-based marketer, then you also want to help automate the quality and give better quality leads to our sales team. So you're starting to put in place lead scoring and your tagging, so that when you give something off to the sales team like this, they can have a rating and they can look at who is this customer and how does the marketing team can help them better analyze how powerful or how valuable this particular lead is. And we have here, and then so you get, this is a customer profile. And so what we're also doing is we're increasing speed, because actually time is the killer and it reduces our conversion. So what we're doing also in this phase is connecting the sales more seamlessly, so that all that lead management and qualification, and put in automation rules and assignment rules, so that we can get the leads to the sales team faster so that they can give us a response quicker or follow up with the leads to help close that deal. And then we're also starting to do some more personalized lifecycle engagements or nurturing. So someone might not be ready yet, but they might be ready in 2 months. So we might put in a reminder to follow up on that. Or if they're interested in a particular product area, product line, then we set up a nurturing journey for that product line and use content that we've already created in the past, evergreen content. And we start putting that, lining it up for different journeys. A good example of this is how tagging and connecting together we work with a telecommunications provider where they're doing a lot of marketing events, but the data was way too scattered. So they were really focused on how do I better understand who my customer is. So we started to track multiple channels with them, including their website. So what are people viewing on the website? And then when people came to the landing page and clicked, then we were combining the customer field with the behavioral data. What did they look at to give them a scoring about the quality of that user? And then these higher quality leads we were pushed to sales, for sales to follow up. In that process also, we were starting to nurture leads. So the people who were not yet high quality, we were pushed to sales, but then they continued to content marketing them and to segment them, as we mentioned just above, based upon the content. And so using a more holistic scenario, they were able to actually, through the marketing, they were able to increase lead. The key number is 35% increase in the number of leads they were generating, and also the quality, the number of MQLs. So they got marketing qualified leads increased by 62% after they were putting in place this full marketing funnel automation and improvement scenarios. So this is one of the paths. As we get into digital experience 3.0, I think it's much it gets deeper, and we're trying to drive more revenue directly through particularly the sales cycle. And so then we're starting to get into Salesforce efficiency, account-based experience, a lot of keywords here, which just means basically we're trying to help the sale automate their ability to engage with multiple people who they wouldn't necessarily be otherwise focused on, and also make it easier for them to engage. So our ecosystem now is starting to look much more complicated, because as of 3.0, we're actually really getting in place basically a first-party data platform. And we might even be starting to get into some predictive AI modeling strategies for understanding who is the most qualified, what are they actually interested in. And excuse me, one of the ideas that's very important to us is that because of the nature of the platform, social platforms, and WeCom in particular, and the digitalization, it's not just internal, it's not external with customers, it's also internal. So we also want to be tracking our dealers, our own team. So the idea of how do we engage and improve, make it more transparent what our team, what our partners are doing becomes a possibility as we get more digital tools. And WeCom is one of the keys to that, because with automation and the ability to automate messaging on behalf of the sales team, they still have to approve it, but we can queue up a lot of messages on behalf of the sales team. The whole goal is that instead of them being able to simultaneously engage with 10 people, they can increase it to, say, 100. And so this happens by making it faster for them to engage with leads. So as we pass the leads on to sales team, but actually really it's about unifying that data, because now the salesperson can just see immediately if this person reaches out to them, or if they're assigned this lead, oh, they read these white papers, oh, what are they interested in? And they attended these events. And so then they can also connect it to the CRM data and see what the record of their engagement history was, and they don't have to log in somewhere else. So a sales mobility tool is critically important, especially to put it in the place where they are actually engaging with customers, which is going to be WeChat. And so that profiling around customers, around teams, across channels is something that we get to in 3.0 as we get more sophisticated and around understanding our dealers. So again, we're starting to automate, find ways to create better experiences. For instance, the sales team has a meeting, they want to follow up, they can set a reminder, and then that message is queued up and automatically sent through WeCom for them 1 week later. They just have to approve it. They don't have to write the message. That type of automation is what we're seeing come up. And also even tracking conversations. What did they say to the customer? What are the keywords? What indicates that this is a really hot deal? And so from this, we start to get our holy grail, which is the full funnel attribution and reporting. How did we drive connection all across the funnel from the beginning all the way to the end, which is our whole goal. I'll end this with sort of an example of sort of a B2B, B2B2C example of a multinational life science company we work with, who has both key account and also some kind of D2C models. We work with the e-commerce team. And so they were improving data. They wanted to improve the customer experience through their WeChat mini program, their websites, and their e-commerce, and increase actual final number of conversion. So what they did is that they were starting to, as they were advertising in third-party media, they were driving people into the official account. They were putting in place welcome journeys, personalized chatbots, engaging with people, asking people what they were interested in, and then inviting them, people who were interested in the right topics, to webinars, and then following up those webinars. This was driving a more complete profile of them across all of these data points. And then as the customers were visiting the shopping areas, they were making product suggestions, different product-based content based upon different content areas. And then specifically in terms of direct value, they were doing abandoned cart and abandoned order messaging. So this is very classic 2C, but it works whenever someone's using e-commerce. They thought about buying it, but they didn't finally purchase. You message them within a short period of time, usually within a couple hours, 24 hours, the latest, and then remind them, oh, it looks like you forgot something in your cart. It looks like you haven't paid yet. Any questions? And just even a soft reminder like that can help move people over the edge into making a purchase. And so helping them to automate it. So the key around this is connecting the whole life cycle. So from the very beginning, we've been acquiring them, mapping them, understanding who they are. They're interacting, they're participating in different events. And then we're starting to send them different content based upon what they have engaged with in the past. And then as they're starting to convert, we use all the levers and the touch points to message in order to try to increase that lifetime value. And then at the end, even increase lifetime value by doing repurchase reminders for consumable goods. So outcome of this is that they were able to get actually 80% of their new followers to come in from QR codes, so they understand the source better. And most importantly, on the right-hand side, they were lifted their unordered shopping cart by 5%, and then their repurchase rate, they were lifting by 15% with these reminders. So just as automation, the right message to the right person at the right time through the right channel, it always works to some incremental degree. Just a matter of testing and finding out how much it's going to work for you to, again, start the process of being able to increase lift across your entire revenue funnel to be able to drive greater revenue, which is what automation is really, really all about. To do that, like I said, it's a phase-by-phase process, and each phase and multiple phases use a traditional planning, design, build, engage, review. We always suggest, like every month to 2 months, just trying 1 or 2 tactics and rolling them out and then iterating on them quickly. So, but through this process, we've seen a lot of customers develop really strong digital platforms that are generating significant value for them. Hope this, if you like the presentation, you can scan this QR code. And if there's any questions, happy to answer some questions.
First of all, thank you, Aaron, for that presentation. And I think we can just leave the QR code up on the screen as we continue with the Q&A here. Okay. So before we get into the Q&A, maybe I could just remind those of you who are watching again that that now is the time to submit your question. If you have a question about anything that Aaron has been talking about, if you would like to have some further explanations about something, now is the time to use the Q&A function down in Zoom here. So Aaron, I think we will jump straight into it. And the first question here reads, could you explain again what the difference is between the normal WeChat and WeChat Work? We already use WeChat and have heard of WeChat Work. Not really sure what the difference is.
Okay. Yeah, the first difference is that WeChat Work or WeCom, they're both different apps that you install separately. They both work very similarly, except one, the WeChat Work is registered to your company. So in order to open up an account, you have to be a registered company in order to open that account. And then it functions similarly, except it's blue. So the app is blue instead of green, but same thing, it has a chat function. In this presentation, I don't have a screenshot directly of it showing you. Maybe I do. I can see if I can go back to one of the screens. But the way I like to explain it, all of these blue screens are all pieces of it, but let me see if I can find a better one. The biggest thing is that, when I started using email back in the 90s, my first business cards then had my Yahoo email address on it. Because at that time, businesses didn't have their own email servers and they didn't have their own URLs. So, but within a number of years, that went away. We all used our official, at Jing Digital addresses. A lot of our sales team is actually right now communicating with your customers frequently on WeChat, but they're using their personal WeChat account. It's like using their at Yahoo or their own personal account. Now, WeCom brings the ability to have that at a company address. And the most important part of this is that if that salesperson, for instance, leaves, he doesn't take his contact list with him. It still belongs to the company. You can reassign all of those contacts to another salesperson. So the contacts belong to the company. They don't belong to the user. So that's probably the number one reason to make things official. So you're not doing a personal chat, you're doing it through the official company's chat. And that's probably the biggest reason that people started off adopting, along with just to take internal office communications out of personal WeChat into a monitorable application. So that's WeChat Work.
Thank you for that, Aaron. And also thank you for the question. The second question is a technical one. I think it's already been covered. The question is, will the slides be shared after the event? I think the answer to that one is yes. So yeah. Let's jump into the next question here. And the next question is a little bit of a curveball, but here it goes. So it's about, of course, LinkedIn, right? And I think in the last few days, I suppose most of you watching today will know that LinkedIn is, of course, not available in China, or rather, it's available, but in a different version that does not include the wall and posting version anymore. So the question reads, Aaron, LinkedIn creates a vacuum, and what do you think will happen? May a Chinese platform emerge to take its place, such as happened to other social media in the past? Curious to hear your reflections on this. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not. This is really hard to say, because there were a number of Chinese platforms who were trying to do LinkedIn, and most of them have died. So there probably will try again. The main thing is because fundamentally in China, unlike in the US, where it's also a content platform, like when we tried LinkedIn ads a number of times, and they were never really very effective for us. So we stopped really focusing so much on content publishing on LinkedIn anyways, a while ago. So obviously because of the all the security laws and the content publishing media restrictions in China, they pulled those functions out, which makes a certain amount of sense. But it's just a question if they pull, because in China, it's really the main focus of LinkedIn is actually the recruiting and the person-to-person connection, putting your resume up on there. And that in the circles that I don't see. My guess is that in the short to medium term, I think LinkedIn, my guess is that they'll still be able to keep their market share in this, because it's a niche, somewhat a niche market anyways. But will that eventually be replaced by WeChat Work adding in, or WeChat adding in this function, more professional function? Could be. Lots of things change fast, but I think it'll be around. My guess is it'll be around for a little while.
Okay, thank you, Aaron, for those reflections. And yes, I think it's of course hard to say what will happen. I think for us, speaking as us, for us as an organization, probably thinking that some platform may come in and swoop its place, but of course hard to say. It's quite a niche market anyway. But let's move on to the next question here, which goes a little bit back to today's topic a bit more, although being a bit broad. So the question is, in your experience, what is a common mistake that you and your colleagues in your company see foreign companies do wrong when looking towards B2B marketing and business in China?
Well, the biggest challenge for a lot of companies, depends if you're a bigger global company, the biggest challenge is that they try to use shoehorn global platforms into China. So and this is probably for smaller companies, this isn't such a big deal. But a lot of larger companies will try to use, say, HubSpot in China. And it just doesn't work very well, because there's enough differences and the channels are different enough that it just doesn't really function. And your team will not be happy using it, and they'll find other solutions and they won't use it anyways. So probably that's the biggest one, is finding the right tool for the job, and not assume, it's just the ecosystem is really, really different. And so not listening to your local team enough, I think it would go under that heading, because really they do know, and particularly the more proactive members of your team will find the local tools, and there's a lot of them out there that are free or very cheap that can solve their immediate problems. And then, so don't stop them from using those tools, let them run with it. And then at some point, when you have the needs, or you find there's starting to be enough pain around everything's separated and not connected, then you can upgrade to a more sophisticated platform that can connect everything together better. But if you're just getting started, I wouldn't actually worry about that. So I would just try things first. So I'll give you two, one of which is don't try to shoehorn in global tools. And the second one is actually just try a lot of different strategies first before investing too much in any one particular tool, because you need to know for your market and your customer base which type of tactics and strategies are actually going to be effective. And there's a lot of free or cheap tools out there that can help you get started.
I was actually, thank you for that, Aaron. I was actually going to ask you a follow-up question to that one that was more about specific advice that you could perhaps talk about for smaller companies new to China, on how to overcome some of these things that are a little bit different. You mentioned not shoehorning in what works other places for the organization may not work similarly in China. But I think you already gave two good suggestions here. Any extra suggestions off the top of your head, or else I think we can jump on to the next one.
This isn't had anything to do with necessarily, but just in general with marketing in general, with is quality. It's all kind of hackneyed, I gotta say. I'm sorry, but particularly in marketing in a new market, focus definitely on the quality over the quantity. It's just that you're a small company, so don't pick a million channels. Just pick the channel that you think is going to work the best, or the couple strategies that are really you think are going to, and try those out first. Don't try too many at one time.
Okay, thank you for that. Then I think that was three different suggestions. So I'm gonna leave it open here, and once again remind that that now is the time. If you have a question you would like to ask Aaron regarding today's topic, and while we wait to see if there are any further questions, then perhaps I can begin slowly to say some wrapping up remarks as well. But please submit an extra question if you would like to ask a question. But yeah, no, as I said, this is going to be our last event in the EU SME Centre before Christmas. So I'm very glad to have all of you tuning in today and joining the session, and not the least thanks to Aaron and the team at Jing Digital for sharing with us the experiences. I would like to ask those of you who are watching for one little thing. And that little thing is that after today's session, we're going to send a follow-up email with some information, the presentation, and also in that email, there will be a little survey. And that survey will be very brief. And it would be a big help to us if you could help fill out that survey. Tell us what we can do better. Tell us what you liked. Tell us what you perhaps wished could have been a little bit better. And then we will try to always improve our events here in the EU SME Centre also in the new years to come. And with that said, I think there is no more questions. There is some thanks coming in the chat that I think you can see as well. So Merry Christmas to everyone. And yeah, please help us to answer the survey once we get that far. And with that said, I think I have no more. So thank you so much, Aaron, for sharing with us today. My pleasure. Thanks, guys. And Merry Christmas to everyone. Take care. Merry Christmas, everyone. So we will shut off the webinar today. So have a good Christmas, everyone. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.